What's good, everybody? It's another episode of Who Peed in the Dating Pool, and today I'm lucky. I have my beautiful niece here. She's a mother, one of the smartest young ladies you ever want to meet, and she has a lot to add to this whole dating pool thing. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tia. What's good, Tia?
Hi everyone. Hey Unc.
Chillin', what's good? So, as you know, it's called Who Peed in the Dating Pool. Now, we realize there's a ton of people out there in this dating scene. Things are going a little nervous. But we realize that we get through these obstacles somehow. And we've been through a lot of experiences, myself, you, and many people out there, so we can relate to a lot of the issues that are going on. And sometimes we get through these issues through dialogue, conversation, and we feed off individuals who have had like experiences. So that's really what the show is about. We talk about things, we discuss them, and we want to resolve issues. That's what we're here to do, resolve issues through discussion. And again, I always tell you guys that I'm learning. So I don't ever proclaim to have all the answers, because I don't, but I do realize that there are many questions to be asked. So, without further ado, Tia, tell me about your dating experience. What's been going on?
It is pee in the dating pool at this point.
Oh gosh.
Relationships, dating. It seems like as you get older, it's harder. You know, when you're younger, it's so much easier. You know, certain things you're not looking for back then that you're looking for now, like stability, credit, job, what people credit means a lot in a relationship. Actually, that's a huge pet peeve for me. If your credit is not together at our big age, that's a red flag. You have to now look at the way a person was raised. Some people was raised off of survival. Some people was raised off of love. And when those two types of different upbringings, as you get older, you know, a lot of people don't grow through what they went through. And they still trying to escape their past traumas in life. And that can really mess up a relationship. You know, some people don't know how to communicate. It's just a lot that you have to look forward to when getting to know a person. And like I always tell people, in the beginning, it works out well because we're meeting a representative. You know, and when you meet the representative, you know, it's the things that you lusting about. It don't have anything to do about loving, because you're not loving them. It's lusting and liking. And then as you get to know them more and more, it's like, wait, who are you? You know, and that whole time we're lusting over a representative.
I agree. I mean, because everyone's putting their best foot forward.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. However, like I mentioned a million times, be your authentic self. Be organic on the date, because if they accept you for who you are at the beginning, even if there are changes with their viewpoints of you, you've always been authentic. You've been that same person throughout.
Right.
And if they appreciate who you are, then they know what they have.
Right.
So I know that you've had your experiences. What have been the biggest hurdles that you've had in the dating pool? What's been the biggest obstacles?
Actually, it's not even, well, yes, dating a relationship is when my youngest daughter's father had a child on me. That was the hardest. Actually, I can even take it back to, I could take it further back to when my family may not even know this. My first child's father was murdered. And the night before he got murdered on September 20th. September 19th, my daughter stayed the night at his house for the first time by herself. Normally, it was just, it would be her and I together staying the night, or he'll stay at our house. This particular night, he kept her alone. The day that he got shot, I called his house phone, and a woman answered the phone. I said hello. When she heard my voice, she hung up. That was the first heartbreak, along with him hours later dying. So I never even had closure for that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to go through things saying to myself, I'm sure he slept with her the night before he got murdered. You know? And I never had a chance to talk to him about it or question him about it. And to make it even worse, when he got killed and later on that night when I went to his house, all my pictures was down. You know, so I had to live with that growing up. And I was, 19 years old. So that was my first really heartbreak. Like, wow, you got killed and you had someone at the house. So that alone, that did something to me. You know, and then to get into my next relationship with my second child father and for him to have a child on me. You know, so it was just back to back. Then I stopped getting into relationships. I was just dating, but I didn't get into no serious relationships. You know, because I got to that point where you had one chance to make me feel some type of way, and I just like, I'm not dealing with this. Because I dealt with hurt at such a young age, you know.
Right.
So I never wanted to put my heart out there, because when I did put my heart out there, I always got hurt. You know, so I always had to keep this shell over me when it came to falling in love and, you know, trying to build a relationship, because I was so hurt at a young age, and I never got not even an apology. You know, I never got to talk about it.
Right.
You know, and that alone was a lot for me. You know, and as you get older, you know, you want to find love. You know, my main focus back then was, let me raise my children.
All right.
You know, I wanted to raise my children. We don't want, you know, you have to deal with the cards that you was dealt. I didn't want to grow up in a single family home, but I did.
All right.
You know, and I played my cards. And now I'm at that age where I'll be 38 in 2 weeks. It's like, I have to start focusing on me and being happy, and, you know, I want to fall in love, and, you know, I actually was in love. I still am in love. And it's like, certain things you just look at your past like, wow. But since it's been 20 years now that I've been dealing with, you know, relationships where it's like, you think about, like, do I have a curse over me? Like, is it the people that I pick? You know, you start questioning yourself, you know.
Well, there's sometimes, like we talked about this many times about trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And trauma is something that's just not addressed enough in relationships, period.
Right.
And getting through that drama, because sometimes we deal with hurdles. And in the society we live in, they don't give you much time to overcome those traumas.
Right.
You can have a death in your family of a close person. Guess what? You're back in work in 5 days.
Yeah.
Have you dealt with that trauma in 5 days? No.
No.
But you have to deal with this. And the relationships that you had earlier, the trauma that you've dealt with, because that's trauma.
It's trauma.
And that carries over into relationships going forward. The key is, how do we get past that?
Right.
And how do we not let our trauma affect the next relationship? And the best way I find to deal with that is to address that trauma. Because you got to get past it, because it's not just going to just dissipate and just move on its own. It doesn't work like that. So you have to address it somehow, through therapy, through family,
Right.
through whatever means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You have to address that trauma. And if you don't, then you carry that over into the next relationship, and you never allow yourself to find that true connection that you long for, or that you need. Because as humans, we need connections.
We definitely do.
We always need connection, and those type of things interfere with those connections a lot of times. So, you tell me about how you've dealt with those hurdles in regards to trauma and going forward in relationships that you currently have or had post those situations.
So now when it comes to relationships, I really try to get to know a person, and not, at this point, you cannot think about past relationships. Absolutely not. Because at the same time, you could be blocking your own blessings when you think about your past, you know, the traumas. But as soon as you start seeing red flags, it automatically is going to trigger you. I don't care who it is. Mm-hmm. You know, because you've been through it. It could be red flags that you know from the past, like your cell phone flipped over. Why your cell phone flipped over? Automatically, you're going to start thinking something, because you know what it's like from being in the past relationship when someone phone is flipped over. Or when you come in the house, your phone automatically goes to silence. Why is your phone on silent? Was the phone on silent when you were doing X, Y, and Z?
Right.
You know, things of that nature. Or, you know, you're going off pattern. You know, things like that. I'm not insecure at all. You know, you're entitled to have your male friends, your female friends, because I have male friends and female friends.
Right.
And I have a lot of male friends that I see the BS that they do to these women, and I'm just like, wow, am I going to think that the man that I'm dealing with now is doing that? Absolutely not. But it's just certain things that you start doing to make me feel like you're doing something, and that's when it becomes an issue.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to automatically just because I've been hurt so many times, I'm not going to say, oh, all men are the worst ever. I don't bash men. Because I tell anybody, broken crayons still color. You know what I'm saying? And I live by that. Like, just because you've been hurt so many times doesn't mean that it will not work out ever again. You know, I still believe in love. Absolutely. Do I want to fall in love again? Absolutely. Like, I want all that, you know. The only thing I don't want is children. You know, but I want to be able to love someone without conditions. And I want it to be vice versa. You know, I want it to be organic. I don't want to have to, and again, like we spoke about communication. We can communicate all day, but you have to comprehend on what we're communicating about.
Exactly.
You know, so that's my biggest thing that I really pray about all the time. Like, you have to just communicate, you have to comprehend, you have to have patience for one another, and you have to hold yourself accountable.
Right.
And that's a huge thing for me. I don't play victim. You know, if you did something you want to talk about, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable for your own actions.
Right. So I know it's difficult. Sometimes there's a difference between intuition, which we all have. There's a difference between intuition and resorting back to things that occurred in the past and dealing with whatever heartbreak that one may have had. How do you distinguish the difference between, okay, I'm just someone being a little insecure, and I'm saying just in general, someone being insecure.
Intuition for a female is just totally different. I'm gonna ask, because I want to ask you, like, how do a man deal with intuition? Because as a woman, it's like we feel intuition right here. Like, it just feel like it's something there that's just coming to us. Like, it's anxiety.
Okay.
You know, you can try not to think about it, but you like, it's something. You know, so you go, you know, you're like, oh, it can't be.
Right.
But if you gotta keep, you're like, yeah.
You know what it is? I think with men are more analytical in that regard, and we start evaluating things and saying, okay, we look at numbers. All right, she usually calls me at 5:38. She's calling me at 6:45.
Right.
And we'll look at that, and then in between 6:45, what could she be doing? Whatever, you know. And men, I don't know, and I don't want to speak for men totally. I can just speak for myself.
Okay.
But I don't know if we have that same spiritual intuition that women have.
I'm about to say, do you feel it? Like, you feel it up? You know how you get that lump in your throat?
Yeah. In relationships, I don't know, because men have an arrogance to them.
Right.
You
and
know,
that's what my ex is. He have an arrogance. It's your ego.
Yeah, it's the ego.
Y'all have an ego.
We have an ego.
And you know, ego can be very fragile. You know, and you guys, and that's a lot of issues with that when it comes to relationships, where you're like, sometimes you have to put your ego aside.
Difficult for men.
I know, and I see that, and that's what we were talking about. Like, your pride and your ego, like, y'all just hold on to that more sometimes than a relationship.
I don't disagree with that, and that's not a whole, fellas. Not everybody. You know, some of you. But you know, that ego is a huge thing, and it's an obstacle a lot of times, because then we have to work around the ego. So we're trying to build a relationship, trying to protect the fragile ego, and trying to tend to our woman's needs without interfering with our ego, which sometimes is a hindrance.
Right.
And you have to work past that. I find, and I know this word is used a million times, communication.
Right.
And when we talk about communication, it's twofold. It's listening and it's talking. But if you're not listening to what's being said and trying to comprehend what's being said and internalize what's being said, and you're just listening just to respond, then you're really not listening.
Right. Absolutely.
Because if you're in a relationship and your ultimate goal is to resolve an issue, how are you going to resolve that issue?
Right.
You have to look at what the issue is. You have to first recognize that it is an issue. And if you don't recognize there is an issue, then you're just spinning the wheel at this point in time. So that's, to me, the best way to deal with it. And not every issue is going to be resolved. I don't pretend to get on here and say that through communication, everything is going to be resolved. Sometimes communication helps you find out that you can't resolve it.
Absolutely. And I know that about a couple of people. You know, you try to work through things out. Again, like going back from your past, some people don't value the same things as you. You know, you can, and not for nothing, you can really outgrow a person.
Absolutely.
You know, and people got to realize that just because we were together on this level, I can be moving up and you can still be stagnant and stuck on here. You know, we can still be on the same floors but have different views.
Right.
In every aspect. And just because you guys don't work doesn't mean, you know, it didn't work for this reason or that reason, or a person cheated or a person did that. No, we just don't have the same views in our life.
Right.
You know, some relationships don't even have to end in those, like, oh, I hate this person. Oh, it went this way, it went that way. Sometimes you just outgrow a person.
And mutually you understand that it's not working. And as hard as it may be,
Yes.
sometimes you got to
You
go your
know,
separate
you
ways.
have
And it's
to.
best.
Yes.
A lot of times it's best for both parties because you find someone who's on the same playing field as you.
Yeah.
And that's what you ultimately look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell everybody, time is luxury.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. No
Don't
question.
waste my time. I won't waste your time. You know, and it's like having the hamster effect. When you know how the hamster's on the wheel, and keep going around and around and around, and he's not going nowhere.
No.
You know, he's just doing this, and he's not going anywhere with the situation. And that's my thing. You know, some people try to look at relationships. Oh, we have history. Let me back up. I'm the first person to tell anyone, because I've been there, to try to make a relationship work for kids, for the children. Stay in the house because of the children. Absolutely not. I lived that life where I wanted it to work for my children, and I felt like I was going insane because I'm sitting here trying to make sure that my household stay together and my children are growing up with a mom and dad in the house. Deep down inside, I was losing it inside. I hated the way he chewed. I hated the way he sneezed. I used to hear the truck pull up. I used to act like I was asleep. Ladies, I'm serious. Men also. I used to put on a pad on to act like I was on my monthly, but he didn't have to touch me. I just hated everything about him, but I just wanted to keep my house good for my children. And children is going to adapt to any situation.
Absolutely.
You know, if they see you, mommy, what's wrong? You know, and then it's a problem, you know. And so my thing was, if I stay in this relationship, either he's going to hurt me or I'm going to hurt him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Or I'm going to hurt myself. Because I felt like I was living in hell. I hated going home after work. He was very insecure. You know, it was always something. And I'm just like, I have to leave this situation because it's not going to get any better. And it took some time for my daughters to adapt. It took about 3 to 4 months. But once they was adapted and had a peaceful life, life was so much better. And I tell anybody, if you're not happy, because happiness comes within,
Absolutely.
right? If you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to be happy with no one. I wasn't happy with myself. I definitely wasn't happy with him. I didn't have a happy home. You know what I'm saying? But I had to make things work for me and my children.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's what I did. I have a 20-year-old now and a almost 16-year-old. And they didn't grow up with no type of dysfunctional home because I did what I had to do for me and mine. It's nothing wrong with saying I cannot deal with this no more and have to move on with me and my children.
Absolutely. Listen, ladies, you do what you do, and you do what you need to do to protect that household. You protect your children, you protect your peace of mind, your spirituality, because there are some people out here who are intentionally trying to break you.
Absolutely.
And you have to recognize those signs. And you can't allow that to happen. And if you're not whole, you can't have a whole household, because a lot of our ladies out there, you're the head of household.
Absolutely.
And you need to recognize that. Protect that household at all costs.
At all. Protect your peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because home has to be peace. I don't understand how are you okay? You go outside and we deal with the world. Mm-hmm. That's enough. To not come home to peace, that's an issue. We deal with enough in the world every day. We get in the car, we deal with traffic, we deal with other humans, we deal with work, we deal with society alone. We deal with the news, we deal with the government, the politics. It's just so much that we deal with. I don't understand how do you come home after dealing with life, coming home and you don't have a peaceful home. That's an issue.
Absolutely.
You know, if your home is not at peace, my children don't know what it's like to hear people yelling and, you know, just screaming and everything. Especially my youngest, she definitely don't know what it's like. Right. You know, I didn't want to raise my children having to escape a childhood.
And that's trauma being passed on.
Generational. And I didn't want to deal with that. Right. You know, I didn't want to put my children through that.
And they put their children through that.
Generations after generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, like, I did not want to raise neither one of my daughters to think it was okay to have a man hurt you or to have a man do X, Y, and Z, or you arguing in front of him and being disrespectful. None of that. I didn't want my children to grow up seeing me hurt.
Absolutely.
You know, so I had to do what was best for me and my daughters.
Absolutely.
You know.
Now, mind you, everybody, this is another family affair thing. We have a household full of people, and my sister. What were you saying? No, it wasn't important. It's okay. So. Family affair, just saying. So go. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
No. I know. I see. It's someone trying to get on right now. So anyway, so I mean that's absolutely true. So somehow through all of this, you've blossomed.
Yes.
You've blossomed. So. What advice would you give to someone who has dealt with a lot, however, has persevered, who's maneuvered through the urine in the dating pool, and has allowed yourself to become the successful individual you are today? What advice would you give?
First and foremost, I will always say, make sure you heal yourself. Mm-hmm. Healing goes a long way. Because hurt people.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm a firm believer in that. You know, if you're hurting, you know, you become like your emotions. Like you don't have no emotions for nothing. You know, you're just out here not caring about anything, not having a heart, just doing this and not holding yourself accountable. And my thing is, don't be out here hurting people.
No.
Don't hurt no one. Like, if you don't have pure intentions, and that's my first thing, you have to ask someone, what do you want? What are you looking for? Because if y'all don't have that conversation in the beginning, right. It's like you thinking you getting this, and you're looking towards this, and they looking for something else. Right. They could just say, shoot, I just got out of a marriage. I'm not even looking for a relationship. Mm-hmm. Here you are, never married, and that's what you want.
Right. And you know what? Sometimes I did a podcast talking about intentions. Mm-hmm. We talked about intentions. Okay. Like, what's your intention?
What's your intention?
And which is an excellent question. And you know, however, I think you have to go into that with no expectations.
You have to. Yes. You gotta expect the unexpected.
Right.
That's the thing also.
You can ask the question.
You can ask it.
You can ask the question, but the expectations are, we'll see what occurs.
I dated someone, and you know, we all have to go through this to understand it. And what you accept and what you would not accept, right?
Right.
I dated someone a couple of years ago, and when we first met, he said he wasn't looking for a relationship.
Okay.
Right? That was the first time I ever, dated someone that said they wasn't looking for a relationship. But he was cool. I'm like, okay. But as months go by, you're talking more, you're going on so many dates. Then he go 4 or 5 months from now, it's getting serious. So, you thinking it's getting serious.
Right.
You have the conversation, they still saying the same thing. I don't want a relationship. But yet, they're doing relationship things,
Right.
They bring you around their family, while they're at work. You're staying at their house. They still want you to come over. You're staying the whole weekend. You're leaving stuff at their house.
Right.
Now they're inviting you to weddings and family reunions and everything. So now we're still at, what are we? What are you doing?
Right.
But at that point, you're wasting my time.
Right.
You're
And
literally.
And you're wasting each other's time because if you don't want that.
If a person tells you they do not want a relationship, believe them. And I tell anybody that now. Don't think you could change a person or no, leave them right there at that minute. If they don't want a relationship and that's what you want a relationship,
Absolutely.
leave them alone. You're wasting your time.
You gotta be on the same page.
You have to be.
If you're not on the same page, what are you doing?
It's wasting time.
Yeah.
And it's going just like this.
Right.
And that's what happened with him and I. It's just like, and now it's so crazy because I seen him not too long ago. He was like, damn, I fucked up.
Yes,
Like I was so stupid, but you wasn't looking for a relationship at the time, And again, it's not our time and it's God's timing. If you wasn't ready for a relationship then,
Right.
and you are now, but I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
So be true to yourself.
Be true to yourself.
Right.
And I had a girlfriend not too long ago. She just got divorced, and she was dating, but she didn't want a serious relationship, and she showed interest in a guy that very close to me, which is one of my male best friends. And she asked me about him. I said, are you looking for a serious relationship or are you just trying to have fun? Because I know how he is.
He's trying to have fun.
Right. So she was like, no, I'm just looking to have fun. I said, that's your guy then.
All right.
If you're looking for a relationship, I said, as his female best friend, don't waste your time. Because I know the games he plays.
Right.
But, she started dealing with him. And then a couple of months went by. They stopped dealing with each other because she started catching feelings. But he told her from the beginning, like, I'm not looking for a relationship,
And I'm going to tell you, a lot of times, ladies, they think they can change someone.
No.
Because if he's telling you what he is,
Yeah.
he's telling you this for a reason.
Yes, believe him.
And you can't get angry with the
You
man.
can't be upset
You
because
can't.
he went out with someone else and I questioned him. He looked at me like, in so many words, he wanted to say we wasn't in a relationship, but he just had that face like, how are you questioning me? And I thought about it like, you know what? He's absolutely right. Like, how am I questioning? Because he told me from the beginning he didn't want a relationship. And here I go, because it was the opposite. You know how sometimes I say actions and talking about it? His talk was, I didn't want a relationship, but his actions was everything in a relationship. So it confuses you,
Yeah. Well, however, as ladies, you keep that in the back of your mind.
Yep.
Fellas, if a woman tells you she doesn't want a relationship, okay,
That's
all
it.
right. If her actions don't change and her words remain the same, she doesn't want a relationship. And if you want a relationship, then you need to find someone who wants a relationship too.
Yep.
And too often, a lot of people, we get into that frame of mind that, oh, well, it'll be different with me. No, it won't. No, it won't.
Believe him.
No, it won't. It's going to remain the same way.
Yeah, you cannot change a person.
You can't change a
The
person.
only thing you can do is change how you deal with a person.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And you know what? And that's best for all parties involved.
Yeah,
Let's be frank.
absolutely.
Because honestly, there is someone out there for you.
Absolutely.
There's somebody out there. But sometimes the person that's for you may not be the woman with the biggest butt,
Absolutely.
or the one with the most hips, or the longest hair, or the prettiest face.
And sometimes the opposites attract.
Yeah, listen. And I know attraction. fellas, don't beat me up. Ladies, don't beat me up. I understand attraction is important, and I'm not trying to tell you to bypass
because that's
that.
what we look like. We look at first.
Right.
You know, it's visual at first.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. No question.
No question. It's a TV show on Netflix called Love is Blind.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
I know.
And on this show, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. You're going into a pod. I'm on one side, you're on the other.
Okay.
I don't know what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
For a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go around from door to door to talk to people, and of course you're gonna narrow it down because my conversation with you was better than it was with Colin, or it was better than Keith and all that. So you go back to that one person,
Mm-hmm.
and you fall in love
Mm-hmm.
with a person over conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a date night without visual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they tell you what I can come in. And I'm like, what do you have on today? Green pants, white shirt, hat to the back. I'm trying to visualize everything, right? And by the third, fourth date, in order to see the person through the wall, you have to propose.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing.
And how did that work out?
It worked out with some, and it didn't with some. Like,
the ones that it didn't work out, what were the reasons?
it was this one guy, the Indian guy.
I have my sisters back here.
Me and my aunt watched it together.
Shout out to my sisters.
Yo, me and Auntie watched it together, and it's so crazy because
Right.
when they get to the altar, that's when you're engaged.
Right.
But when you get to the altar, you gotta say I do or I don't.
Right.
Now, mind you, don't meet. You going on dates.
Mm-hmm.
You go on a vacation. This is all before you get to the altar,
Mm-hmm.
and you meet the family. You go to each other's family house. You meet everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get to you living together. You start living together and everything. You got 30 days for your wedding. Is it 30, Auntie?
Yeah.
30 days.
Mm-hmm.
You walk down the aisle, your whole family behind you, like
Right.
a whole wedding.
All right.
And you're sitting there and they was like, do you take such and such to be your whatever? They like, I don't. And the other person's standing there like, in the family, everybody, people be crying, they be running off and everything. When I tell you, this Indian guy, and they kept telling him, he was trying to, in the beginning, he was just trying to figure out people, right?
Mm.
So they come in the room, and he's like, if I pick you up, would I hurt my back? They're like, oh, what are you doing? So, like, he was just trying to see if she was a big woman, or like
Right.
he was just trying, and you can't go by that.
Okay.
You have to fall in love with a
Right.
person's personality.
So he's trying to cheat.
He was trying to cheat.
Yeah.
So he got a woman. She was Indian like him,
Mm-hmm.
but she had very strong features.
Mhm.
Like she had strong features,
Mm.
and he was trying to like her, but he could not. He fell in love behind a wall,
Yeah.
but once he seen her,
Mm.
it went out the window. So that means he wasn't even in love. He was lusting over the conversation, of
Yeah,
course.
right.
You know, and he kept saying things like, "I'm not physically attracted to her." Like he'll talk off when he's not around when they interviewing him. He was like, "She reminds me of my aunt," and we're like, "Wow." And the crazy part, they asked her before they asked him,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "I don't." He was his ego was so messed up because, bro, you was gonna say I don't either. She got to say it first, and it killed his whole.
And what we talked about earlier, that male ego is something
That
else.
male ego is something. When I tell you he was distraught, like, how can you?
Yeah, easily.
Easily, but it's a very good Netflix show, guys. Y'all have to catch up on.
And what's the name
But,
of it again?
what is it, Auntie?
Love
is Blind.
Love is Blind.
On Netflix.
Hey, Love is Blind. This is free advertisement, so y'all can know.
Right, exactly. Right, but it's very good. But you
Right.
never know, you know. And I tell anybody that started dating during COVID because we didn't have nothing else to do. We was in the house, you know. You talk more.
All right.
You know, it wasn't more about just being on cell phones and everything. You really got to know someone deep down inside, you know, because we didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah,
You
COVID
know?
was something else.
COVID was something else. So it's good to learn a person that's comfortable enough to tell you their past and their traumas and their hurts, and being very vulnerable with one another.
Let me ask you a question. We had this debate recently.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take to know someone?
Forever, every day is something new.
What
Like,
I mean, is initially. So we won't even say like know them inside and out.
Okay, so my thing is, if you're into a person, you will start knowing things about them, little things. The smallest things make us feel so much bigger, right? When you're not into a person, you could care less.
How long do you think that takes?
To get to know a person, if you're around a person constantly, or just talking and texting, you learn the little things, but more and more, you learn other things. Like, if you're in a relationship for, let's just say, if you're dealing with a person 3 weeks, right? And y'all going out and y'all eating every day. By the third week, you should know, I don't like pickles on my burger. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. You know, but deep down inside, to know a person, it could be things that y'all never talked about that you didn't know that they didn't like. You know what I'm saying? But little things of getting to know each other. Like, I'm first to tell a person I'm terrified of birds. You know, everybody around me knows I'm terrified of birds. Or I feel a way if you're not close to me. I know when someone isn't close to me because they call me Tia. You know, anybody that's close to me or my family or friends, they call me T. You know what I'm saying? So things like that, you know. But it's just some things when you dating someone, and let's just say, for instance, they're on the phone with T-Mobile and you're in the car driving, and then you hear the way they talking to the customer service, you're like, oh, I didn't know that about a person.
Right.
Things like that.
How they treat people. You know? Or just certain things when they pick out stuff, you're like, oh, I didn't think you were like that. Like, yeah, you know. Or just say, for instance, they have a family member that they never talked about, and you guys are somewhere and you see a family member and you see the way they treated them, you're like, well, what happened with them? You know, why do you treat that? So as you're dating, you just learn stuff about people more and more and more. And again, like we said, sometimes you meet the representative, you know? I think, this is my view, I think it takes about at least 6 months.
To know a person?
To really know things. Because I think, like, they say 90 days. 90 days you pick on patterns.
Right.
You should know the patterns of that person. Because, I mean, it's just if you're aware and you're, you know, being observant, you can pick up the patterns. So in 90 days, I can pick up the patterns of an individual.
Okay.
Behavioral patterns, tendencies, and so forth.
But what about if they don't show you that in the 90 days?
Because those patterns are what they are. I don't
Okay.
think people can escape their own patterns. I think people do what they do.
I think it just takes longer than that. Like, every day something is different, you know? It could be years sometimes, you know? And
That
you gotta be able...
That intimacy takes years.
That does, but you know what? You gotta be able to deal with a person in every season of their life.
Good, bad,
You know?
and different. Right. If
You
they
gotta-
lose their job,
How do they respond? If they mourning a loss,
Right.
how do they? Let's just say if they go broke,
Right.
how do they deal with that? Or if they hit the Powerball, how do they deal with that? Or let's just say they get sick, how do they deal? What can I deal with? That's the thing. Like, am I strong enough to deal with them in this season? That season, like, some people don't think about that.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to.
Because
You have to.
and you're not going to know until those situations
Happens,
arrive.
exactly.
And you're not going to know.
Because there's some things I'm like, I'm not dealing with that.
Right. And you think you know a person until certain situations come about.
Especially when you're going through the depression season. Some people don't want to deal with other people's depression because misery love company. And a lot of people that's depressed, it's like, I have a friend where when he's depressed, we could be having a time in our life. He calls my phone right now and I look at the phone, I'm like, I don't want to deal with that right now. Because I already know when I answer the phone, he's like, what's up? Bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what you're dealing with right now, but I'm having a time of my life over here, and the way I deal with my feelings and my emotions for people I care about, you're going to bring me down.
Right.
You know, because you're down.
Right.
You know, you're dealing with X, Y, and Z, and you're dealing with a divorce, you're dealing with a loss of a job, you're on child support now. I don't want to hear that shit right now. Catch me when I'm okay enough to talk about that. But, you know, like, it's different seasons that we're willing to deal with, and that's the older we get. You know, when we were younger, we dealt with a lot of that, you know. But as we get older, I'm not.
You know, there are people who bond together over their depression.
Yes.
They're depressed, you know.
And they depressed, they come together, and it's emotional.
And then when one of them comes out of that depression,
and that person's still there,
they don't have anything left in their relationship.
That's nothing. And that's how some friendships are with females or guys. Like, oh, they don't like that person and I don't like that person. And they get together and then it's like, oh, we're gonna talk about no. But that's how it is. Like, you got to be able to deal with a person in every season.
Right.
You have to.
You know what? I'm gonna pose this question, and to whoever's watching, I pose this to you. As you know, it's called "Who Peed in the Dating Pool," and I'm gonna ask you guys this, and be honest. At any point in a relationship, have you been the pee in that dating pool? Have you been the problem? Now, I know that's difficult for a lot of people to admit, but has your trauma contributed to the pee? Has your past experience, has your inability to trust, has your inability to be honest, has your inability to be faithful contributed to the dating pool urine? It's a fair question. Because it's not always the other people.
Right.
Sometimes we have to look within. We have to examine ourselves. And a lot of us, we don't do that. Because, I mean, if we're honest, I'll be honest, at some point in time in my life, because I'm old, you know. I'm sorry people, I'm old. But when I was young, there was a point in time that I was a little bit of that urine. I was part of that pee in that dating pool. And I acknowledge that.
Right. That's a part of growth.
Yeah, you know.
You have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I was not not who I am today. Let's just say that much. And I still have growth. And I acknowledge that there's still growth on my part. But I try. So, in the comments, you know what? I noticed some of you guys are commenting, and at this point in time, I can't read the comments, but write them in. Like, I'm going to post this, and if you're able to, follow us on Who Peed in the Dating Pool, and write some of the questions or what have you, because I can't really answer them. I can't even really see them. My apologies to everybody, because I'm sure you have some awesome questions, and I just can't see them at the moment. But yeah. But again, answer honestly. Have you been the pee in the dating pool at one point in your life? Are you currently the pee in the dating pool? Are you dating someone who's the pee in the dating pool? Just a question I wanted to throw out there.
Right. But you must hold yourself accountable.
Accountability.
Yes.
Hey sis, I got my nephew here. Now my nephew, listen. Listen. He doesn't want to be on camera, but that's all good. And I brag about him because he's such a good family man. He's a father of 3 beautiful children. Good husband. His wife is here. She's awesome as well. She's probably camera shy as well. But a lot of young people, because he's young himself. So if you're looking and saying that these people don't exist, and they do. They're young people in their 30s, millennials that are good people. My niece, she's a millennial, but she doesn't.
Yes, I am, right?
But she doesn't embrace it because she's a sort of an old soul in that regard. But yeah, they exist. You have to look for them, and you have to be willing to build with them.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to be that old guy telling you guys what you should do. And in my day, we did this. But I'm just saying, because there's a lot of young people who lost hope, and they don't feel that there are young people out there who are worthwhile. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm not just saying this because it's my family. I'm saying it because I'm being honest. There are people out there that are worth going the extra mile with. And they're young. So just keep hope alive, people. Maneuver through the urine. You got to maneuver through it. You got to swim through it. Hope, pinch your nose when you go in that water.
Right. I swear. It could feel like I promise you, it be feeling like a full-time job. Like, that you're not getting paid for that.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
just maneuver
man.
to an experience. That's all you can say. This is an experience. I promise.
Hold on, people. I know I'm getting close to the camera. I just want to see something real quick. Oh. Yeah? That's...
Yeah, she must have did that by mistake.
If you did, we'll find out, sis.
Someone asked, what are we talking about? They came in late.
We are talking about the urine in the this is called. Hey, sis, what's good?
I don't know how I got on here,
You would send the recording.
but I had going to for the I was gonna ask questions.
Right, leave.
I hear it.
I'm gonna hang mine up.
Yeah, we have cameos every once in a while. But so what we're talking about this, if you're new to this, this page is called Who Peed in the Dating Pool, and essentially we talk about dating on a whole and what we can do to resolve some of the issues, especially within our community. A lot of people are jaded through the whole dating experience because of the individuals being untrustworthy or lack of communication or the inability to listen to one another. So we get on this page and we discuss it and we talk about resolving it with no judgment. We don't criticize you, men or women. It's not a men bashing page or a woman bashing page. We don't do that. We just have honest discussions. So that's really what we're talking about today. And essentially that's what's it. So follow us. And then you'll get to see some of the other videos that we've had, some of the other interviews that we've posted. Also, we're also on Spotify, Who Peed the Dating Pool. It's a podcast audio. So we talk about things as well. So check us out. Just saying. You like it, I think. I'm pretty sure.
And this live will be posted on the page also, so you can always go back and watch it.
That's right. And like.
Yes.
You know, you can share it too if you want.
Like share.
We'd appreciate sharing is caring, people.
Right.
So anyway, so any questions? I have people out here. Anything you guys want to add? See, they're shy. Everybody's shy right now. Now these people are not shy. I'm gonna tell you that right now. These are not shy individuals. However, they now they want to.
Maybe they'll be on next time.
Next time we'll get you on there. Yeah. But anyway, so any parting words, any words of wisdom that you want to give everybody?
I just want to have a open mindset. Make sure you're healed before you start dating someone. Make sure you're not the one that's hurting because you will hurt the person. Be intentional with everything. Hold yourself accountable. You know, be honest. Be you. You know. And that's the best thing you could do at this point. You know, if you're not ready, don't force it. You can't force it.
If it's not meant to be, it's just not meant to be. You can't force it.
Right.
So, like I said, a lot of people here, but it's awesome. And again, I appreciate you for being on the show. It's awesome. I'm excited. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you have anything that you want to add or any questions, just post them in the comments because they'll be up shortly. And I love to engage with some of you guys because I didn't get the opportunity to engage with you during the live. So again, appreciate you coming through. Yeah, you can DM as well. You know, DM. You know, we'll take your DMs, and we love that as well. Whatever way you want to communicate, just reach out, and we'll be glad to chat with you guys and talk. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Everyone have a good night.
Good night. Be safe. One.
Good night.
Yeah.